Welcome to the Secret Sauce of Outsourcing podcast that's dedicated to making you better at working with OFS, Online Filipino Specialists. This is episode 179. How much do benefits cost? A while ago, I had a podcast episode about some benefits that we pay, or benefits that you could pay to your OFS. And I got a lot of responses about that podcast and about the newsletter saying, like, how much does this cost per year? Or give me a ballpark. So that's what I'm going to do today. Today I'm going to give you a ballpark cost, like back of the napkin math of how much benefits can or should cost for an OFS per year. I'm going to go through the cost and what they are really quickly, and then I'll talk through these. So number one, SSS is like $600 a year. So that's basically like another month of salary. And that's Philippines Social Security. PhilHealth is like $85 a year. So it's not very much. Health insurance, we pay about $400 per year per person. And PhilHealth and health insurance are different things. Health insurance is their socialized medicine, and it really is just like they decrease the cost of your bills, whereas health insurance, like private health insurance, is actually like it pays for their health care. And then Pag-ibig, which is their housing fund. It's a government housing fund, is like $45 a year. Pretty cheap. So the total cost of these things is like $1,100, $1,100 to $1,200 per year. Now, this will depend on how much you're paying the person, because SSS is completely dependent on how much they make. So if depending on what they're making, it's going to be more, it's going to be less. And how much they pay will also affect the benefits they get from it. So like maternity leave, if they're paying their SSS premiums, well, what they get from maternity leave is based on how much they're paying. So how much you pay into SSS tells the government, here's how much I'm making. And so if you get maternity leave or paternity leave, then what the government's going to give you from that is going to be based off of how much you're paying in. So that number can go up or down depending on how much they contribute. And they could contribute more than they're required to. They could contribute less and say that they're making less. Eventually, it'll affect their pension when they retire. The Pag-ibig, so this is the Philippines like government-sponsored loan program. And some of my people pay into it. It's like a contribution. It's like 200 PHP per month, which is pretty low. It's like less than $4 per month. It allows them to take a home loan from the government and then also to withdraw their like contributions with dividends after 20 years. So the Pag-ibig is kind of like a savings plan, but it also has this loan benefit where you go to buy a house, you get a loan from the government. Because you've been paying into it, you're entitled to getting a loan. So the rule of thumb for these two things, SSS and Pag-ibig, is the maximum you can contribute per year is 13% of your salary for SSS and 4% of your salary for Pag-ibig. Now, those are maximums, like if people want to contribute more because they're going to get more benefits down the road. The minimum required, there's a scale for it that we'll link to in the description here that like, oh, if you're making this much, then you need to be paying this much. So let's talk about health insurance now. So health insurance, when we started providing private healthcare to our team, we went around and we searched all these providers and we ended up with Value Care for our entire team. And that was what we decided in the beginning. Everybody's going to use Value Care. They quoted us $400 a month per person. And so that's what we did. We signed everyone up for Value Care. It turned out that like Value Care wasn't super great in some areas of the Philippines. And so like some hospitals didn't want to take it. And so we ended up deciding to let all of our team members choose their own. And then we set a price of like, we'll pay $400 a year for your health care, for your private health insurance. And then if you want to choose something that costs $600, well, you're going to pay the extra $200. We've also seen like cheaper things, like even down to like $150 per year for health insurance. Now the benefit obviously is dependent on the amount that you pay. So the more you pay, typically you're going to get more benefit from it. They're going to pay for more. Your limits are going to be higher. You're going to get a private room instead of a shared room when you stay a night in the hospital. And that's the Philippines health insurance plans are pretty straightforward. It's like, which do you want? Do you want a general room where like there's a bunch of beds, or do you want a shared room with a bunch of beds, or do you want a private room with a shared room with just 2 beds, a private room where it's just you, or like a private room suite? And that's kind of how they do it. And it's just the price tiers go up with those, and the maximum payout amount goes up with each of those things. So like a private room suite will have like a 2 million PHP per year maximum payout, and a private room will have like a 1.5 million maximum payout, and a shared room will have a 1 million maximum payout, something like that. That's typically how it is. They're pretty simple. It's not like programs in the US where you get all kinds of craziness within the healthcare system here. So now about payments. So we generally pay their health insurance twice a year. So we'll reimburse them in January and then in June or July. Or that could be different depending on when they signed up and when their premiums are due. But we pay them twice a year for their health insurance. And then we typically pay quarterly for the other things. So for SSS and PhilHealth and PagBig, we would pay them quarterly. And that way they can make their contributions quarterly. And it's not every single month, which is easier for us, and it works out. We don't give these things right off the bat to someone. Typically, we want someone to work for us for 3 to 6 months before we're willing to give it to them. And that 3 to 6 months kind of depends on how much do we trust this person. You know, if they're a family member of someone we already have working for us, well, we trust you pretty dang well, and we're probably going to start paying it earlier. If you're a new recruit and we don't trust you super well yet, then we're going to wait a little bit longer. But we try and pay these things as quickly as we can, generally, because we want to take care of our people. So if you want more, we have a blog post that'll be linked in the description below, where I write about all of these things, and you can get more about the benefits. There's also, we're going to have a really big comprehensive benefits post coming up that we're working on right now that'll detail all of these things for you, and it'll put them all together into one and should be really, really helpful. So let me just say again, none of this is required. I talk about this because people want to know, but if you're just starting, do not let this push you off like, oh, there's one more complication. You don't need to do this. It's not required. This is something that we didn't do for years. It wasn't until we kind of started to realize, oh yeah, we should take better care of our people, that we started just to explore some of these things. Then they came on one at a time, and when we started making more and more money, we started adding more and more things to them. So don't feel like you need to pay all this stuff all at once.